Hello there. I am so glad that you are here with me tonight because I absolutely love getting to do what I do. I get to talk to interesting people. I get to talk about topics that I think are amazing and fun, sometimes more fun than others, not going to lie. But I think that I think that this is one of my favorite people to talk to. Y'all have heard him so many times, but you know what? It's because he is so knowledgeable about everything I'm fascinated in. He's got so much more um, awareness and knowledge than I do. And he's a metaphysician. He is a psychic. He is a medium. He is a channeler. I can tell you that's freaky. He is a cook. He's an author. He's a really good author. He is he's just brilliant. He's great at leading tours. He does that too. And he's really special. And I'm really glad he's my friend. So I'm going to bring Mark Fults. Hello.
Howdy. How y'all doing?
I am doing so good that, you know, I'm coming down your way trying to escape the cold, and I'll be darned if it's not going to be down there too.
Gonna be cold here too, but that's okay. I'd rather be getting cold in Florida than cold in Lafayette, Georgia, where
No
I came
doubt.
from. I would not. Right now, it's going to be cold there. And I used to live in an old haunted house that during the winter the wind would whistle through the windows, and it was something else.
Well, I tell you what, this is so funny because, I all of my friends are like, "Oh, we're going to get some cold weather." And I'm like, that's not necessarily the very best thing, you know, but kind of it is because we don't get it very cold here. Like last year when it snowed and,
Yeah.
you know, I got down to Gulf Shores and the snow on my deck was like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do with it. So I just got my dustbin and started shoveling it off the deck because,
Yeah.
it weighs a lot. You have to get it off. And I broke my dustbin. I was like, oh man, now what am I going to do? So I just scraped the rest of it. But we don't have that problem here much. And certainly we don't have that problem often in Gulf Shores. So just like you don't in Pensacola, and you had a ton of snow.
We had 9 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Very and I loved it because we're like, I mean, it's Florida, it's like a kitty litter box. I mean, it goes away in 2
Yes, it
days.
is.
But everybody panicked, that was downtown Milton. Some of them had never seen snow in their life.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was fabulous. And then it was gone in 2 days. And I thought, I like that. I like that. So hopefully, I think it's a cycle. So it'll do it for 6 or 7 years, hopefully.
Well,
And it kills a lot of bugs. I mean, it killed a lot of flies this year, because last year. Because Florida, I have to say, Florida is the Lord of the Flies sometimes. And
it is.
because it's like, oh my Lord. But that's, that and those big cricket looking things that are like locusts that
Camel
are about 6 or 7 from. They were incredible. I didn't see as many this year, but I think the cold killed a whole lot of.
And they have it may have, but they are there are years that they're more prevalent. It's not always they're not always around, but I have been where you couldn't walk without crunching in Gulf Shores because there were so many.
Yeah.
So, but that's just
they're amazing.
Kind of a transient thing.
Yeah, I can tell when they're out because I can see Morgan out in the yard stomping something, because he's trying to keep them away from his garden,
Well, yeah, because he does have a pretty garden. That's funny.
He has a beautiful garden, but they eat everything. So they're some kind of locusts. So they're beautiful and weird and scary looking.
Well, the cicadas are what are scary looking. They're the ones that have like the exoskeleton.
Oh yeah, yes,
they're funky.
They're funky.
I think that's what Alien was based on. Were those exoskeletons?
Could
Like
be.
a predator thing?
Yes, I just finished watching the new Alien thing, Alien Earth. I loved it. It's gross, but I loved it.
Well, you like stuff like that, though.
I'm afraid I do. You know,
There's
I
nothing wrong
like
with that.
weird.
I just don't watch
I
it.
watch. Yeah, I watch scary things that I know aren't real. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
because I would rather watch the Blob or the monster from wherever than watch serial killer kind of things because that's too real. So
that is
I
too
like to watch
real.
them.
But I
So
was in seventh grade the first time I watched The Blob,
oh
and I'm here to tell you that that was freaky to me because when the girl was getting her hair washed and they put her back in the sink to rinse her, and I was like,
yeah,
because
that
that
was
to
the
me,
second Blob. Yeah, that's the second Blob. I hate that one, but um the first one and the remake, the 89 remake. But I like those. I love the 89 remake or what 88 remake. But the when I was 10 and I was watching the Blob, the minute when it ate the nurse, it freaked me out. I was like, out of there. And now it's a really actually a very good sci-fi movie from the 50s. I
yeah,
mean, I thought they did a pretty good job. So I would love to make
I
those
really
kind
thought
of,
they did too.
you
And
know,
you know, that period took real things and made them scary. I mean, it wasn't
oh, well,
serial killers and things of that. There were, but these
yeah.
movies weren't, these B movies. But the one that also got me was, well, I've just lost it. The one about Spanish moss. The
Spanish moss.
It was the dangly out of the trees, and
Yeah.
if you walked into it, it would eat you, kind of like, you
Oh,
know.
from the 60s. It's
Mhm.
the I know there's a Tree of Death kind of movie that had a guy
That
off
could have
of
been
High
it.
Chaparral. And the guy was off of High Chaparral, and that was his one big movie role, I think. And the tree would eat people or eat their blood, or there were several movies like that. So
Well, it was like the Saturday night or whatever night
yeah,
flicks, Friday night flicks or something.
yes, they always we were young, it was shock theater. You'd
Yes.
watch a bad horror movie.
Well,
So
and it's really funny because I I'm an empath, as you know. And when I sit there and I'm
sure.
watching stuff like that, I don't watch horror movies. I have so many friends who are actors in horror movies. And I'm like, no, thank you though. I've never seen your work, but I know you and you're a nice human. So I'm not going to see your work, but it's so nice to be your friend. you know, I just don't do it.
Well, yeah, I would love to. I write. Yeah, I want to write them and make them and be be in them. I feel like I could be a monster or an old witch or something in one because I'm without much makeup.
I think you would be a
So-
fantastic actor. Well, because you're such a Renaissance
oh, I
man.
love acting. I don't know about that, but I'm more medieval or primitive or maybe Stone Age. Fell out of the rock, fell out of the tree, landed on the rock.
Well, you do a really good job with your writing, and you're a
Oh,
great
thank you.
raconteur. You're one of the best storytellers I know, and I
Oh, thank
think
you.
that it's
Thank
something
you.
that
Very humble.
either you do it or you don't. You know, I love getting a chance to.
Yeah. Well, I've always enjoyed storytelling as a child. I mean, my grandmother was really good. My mother's mother was real good at it. My mother was good at it, and I thought I want to do that. So and it's turned out to be okay. So we'll see. Um, we'll be telling a lot of stories when I do my cooking show. I'm going to hopefully have it going the week before Thanksgiving. And
Oh my gosh, that's
I'm
coming
filming
up
stuff
quick.
right now.
Yeah.
It's coming up quick. And I'm going to at least have the first one out before Thanksgiving. So, and then try and do one a week each week. And
What are
so
you
I'm
going to
getting
cook
those
for your
ready.
first one?
So, oh, well, I already know my go. See, at the beginning, I'll have, because it's going to be for people who don't know what I'm doing. I did a book called My Mean Old Grandma's Good Old Cookbook, and I'm going to do a cooking show called the Fat Psyching Cooking Show, based on my mean old grandma's recipes and recipes I've collected. And I'm for the first one. I have the ghost story I'm going to tell, because at the end of the show, after we've done all the baking and stuff, then I'm going to tell a ghost story, and you can sit there and eat your cookies while you're getting a ghost story. And I already have the ghost story, my favorite one my grandmother used to tell. And then since it's about my mean old grandma, I'm going to try to do something a homage to her. So I'll either do a fried pie or a fried chicken or a cookie, because she turned out those three items she could turn out in a second. So I will probably do one of those and then build a little meal around it and show you how you can make it into a quickie fun meal. So, but I'm terrible at cooking chicken. Chicken is I don't know what it is. There's a knack to it, so I'm gonna have my cousin show me how to do it right. But I have a way to do it that I think it'll be just fine. But the reason my cookbook doesn't have any pictures of my food is because they look like crap in black and white. And my food tastes great, but it kind of doesn't look great in pictures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a thing where anyone, when they see the recipe that I put on, if they'll cook the dish and send me the picture and send me their information, then once a month I'll have a little video and show for the month the people who've really done something and turned it in, or done something based on whatever I've got cooking. And so I think it'd be fun.
That would be fun.
So
and it's a good way to get audience participation too. I think that's fun.
Oh, it'll be fun. And then eventually I want to do a cooking contest. I think, where the fair down here doesn't have one. And I thought every fair had something like that. But they don't have a cooking thing. So I would love to eventually evolve it to doing a fat psychic, cook-off. And people could bring in their dishes and win awards, or send in a recipe, do it online and have them send in pictures and their recipes, and then I would see which ones are the best and give them win a prize.
Well, I think
do
that
a
would be
book
fun.
based on oh yeah, I think it'd be a hoot. So
well, it would definitely
we're here to talk metaphysics. Well,
we are.
Yeah, we're here to talk metaphysics. I don't see on my chat thing anybody coming in, but I see chats there, so I haven't got my glasses on. So
right now we've got April and Lori, and they are talking cooking. And April said the most recent thing she watched that was close to horror was a series on Ed Gein, since she now lives in Wisconsin. So, or Gein. You probably don't say Gein that way.
What's the one? Okay. I got you. I had a great aunt named Micah. I loved her. She was so cute. Cool.
Well, he's a junior.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's a junior in high school. April. Wow, time flies. That is Denise's cousin.
Well, I'll have to have you read those things, because right now I am the blind psychic. Besides being bad, I'm
I
blind.
could read them. Let's see. Lori says she's watching, and then she said your cookbook is great. She has a signed one. I didn't get one signed. I need to do that. And then April said the most recent thing that she watched was
I'll get
that Netflix series. And then that Micah, her son, wants to go to school for culinary arts, and he's a junior in high school. So it's following the lines.
Wow.
I'm
Well,
probably the only one
yeah.
that goes off on a tangent, right?
Well, and men, if a man became a cook, yeah,
David cooks.
yeah, men make good cooks. Yeah, they either really are really good or really not. So, but if men become cooks, they usually that's why they're chefs. They really go into it.
David started
And
cooking in
your
self-defense.
mic is kind of cutting out a little bit. Yeah. So I love cooking. I love eating. I love finding recipes. So I like digging. So
Well,
I was always like a little.
I like that you were
Ooh,
finding.
your mic is cutting out.
Oh, is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes. It was cutting out. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So what I like.
Okay.
Is that better?
I can hear you, and now it was just it was cutting out a little bit earlier.
Okay.
So,
and
but
Lori said
we're talking about May. We have site, but we'll talk about stuff, whatever you want to talk about tonight, my dear.
Well, we cover a lot of things when we talk, and we cover a lot of things when we talk away from the show too.
Yeah.
Because if I'm having a quandary about something, I'll give you a holler.
Yeah.
And if I have something that's freaking me out, I'll give you a holler. And I have been really interested because I like the sky. I am a sky watcher. I sit outside in the summers, just watch the clouds blow around, and I go to the beach. I sit on the beach and watch everything, or I'll just sit on my deck and watch stuff because you can see this, the storms coming down out of town, coming in and stuff. But one of the things that I have found interesting, and you have to understand, I have been a ufology person since I was little. I love it. I think it's the most interesting topic. I saw something when I was going into 7th grade that did not meet any norm. And I have, since I started doing radio, I've covered several alien cons with Ancient Aliens. I've covered Contact in the Desert. And, there's just so many things. I've got to do UFO Congress. I've gotten to, hang out with Travis Walton and all of the Ancient Alien guys. I've gotten to talk to all these people that have had these experiences, right? And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying I talk to people that do that, and that most of them get it and believe it. Others are skeptical, and I don't see how they could be after working on those shows for a while. But but it's really interesting to me because I never ever thought that our government would be who brought up that there's something, coming through here. And like I cannot say this appropriately. I'm going to try to. Oumuamua. I can't. The great big long flat pancake interstellar object.
Yeah.
That came through about 3 years ago. And in fact, 2017, so 5 years ago. But 8 years ago. Wow.
Hey.
But anyway, time flies. But, that was the first confirmed interstellar object that we knew of coming through. And I don't really know why they reported on it, because I would never have thought they would do that. our government has been very good at, poking the bear, making fun of people that are, experiencing. Poor old Travis Walton and his friends. I didn't even know that one of his friends lived here in Alabama. And, he was one of the ones that took off and left when Travis got zapped by the energy stream from the spacecraft.
Yeah.
But anyway, it blows me away that our government is now saying, "Oh, this is not acting like just a comet. This is acting like it has vapor trails. It has Ivy Loeb said the other day that it had a non-gravitational acceleration. So it wasn't because it got slingshotted by a gravity pull. It was because it did it. And so all this stuff is happening. And our government is who is talking about it, which is, to me, bizarre. And why? Because I don't even have to ask you questions. You always know my questions. But why is the government being so open about this? Why are they distracting?
Let's see. Look at the puppet over here while this is doing something else. You can't always trust what the government chooses to allow you to see, or what you think they're allowing you to see.
Right.
The thing is, because when I was young, I really wasn't into UFOs. Right. I was into the ghosts and spooky stuff. Then in about 72 or 73, I was riding with my brother and his girlfriend somewhere, and we saw a UFO. And so we got out to watch the lights, and stuff like this. And I kind of got interested. And then after I saw a couple of my own, in the later years, then, I became very interested in them. And a friend had turned me on to Zachariah Sitchin's books about, the Anunnakis and all that stuff. And all of that is, our first written history or myths or whatever you want to call them, were about those people, it came somewhere else and came here. Anunnaki. And that's just one branch of people. That's just who we know of, there's other people, and other things out there. And I even know an astronomer, they all go, no, everything you think is bull, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, come on, guys. There are so many things that were so advanced. I mean, all I have to do is walk around Egypt and you see drill holes that were made with some kind of equipment that we can't even do now ourselves.
Yeah.
So, kiss my double wide big derriere. But like I said, the government, you can't always trust any of that. But at some point, though, when things happen, they can't do anything about it because it's going to happen anyway. So, and we talked about, the other day about I've been trying not to watch the news about anything so I don't go, on a rant. And, so I heard a little bit about the what they believe the vehicle that's coming close, and I talked with you about that. I mean, it's the more times we get activity, it's because the Earth, it's not only a planet, it's an organ in the universe, and they have multiple organs, planets that they go back and forth to, and this is a good way station. They come here and get any of the materials they need in between, And so, it's very important for them to have it living and functioning. And
Mhm.
when we as people, they're not coming to interact with us because we think we're
No.
so damn intelligent. We're not. We're not evolved. We are not.
No.
We are just now moving past the moon, which means they're like, oh no, here goes the neighborhood. So we're getting ready to go out and mess up everyone else's thing like we messed up this one. So they're not as interested in going, oh yeah, we need to talk to these people. They are basically, people come and check the radiation levels, check, keep everything balanced, see what, because when the poles shift, everything shifts, and they have to keep track and make sure what's in balance, what isn't in balance. How can they keep us from destroying it with nukes? And you'll see a lot of nuclear plants get a lot of UFO experiences because, I think they shut them down because they know what it does and they keep it, they're trying to keep the planet in a healthy, working, as a healthy organ.
Right.
And the black holes that are created, when like say when our planet was created by a big bang. Where did the big bang come from? To me, it's
Right.
from a black hole that started from another planet, and it just begins a little whirlpool, and it searches for energy of a specific type, and then when it hits the pockets of the right energies, it makes an explosion. And when it does, it gives off, millions of little swirling holes, that become ventricles and veins. And as the planet develops, then you have dendrites and everything. It's like a neuron. You get tunnels and connecting pieces everywhere, and they can travel if they know which one. The black holes, the white holes, all of it. Even though we can't see it, they
Right.
they have the technology and the ability to see it. So they can plot out which of those um, black holes or tunnels or veins or ventricles, which ones would be beneficial that pull towards from where a planet was to where we are now. So see, now that makes a highway to us. And from that planet, it goes to the planet it came from, and then the planet it came from. So we have a connection. They can get in those black hole ventricles. When I look at them, if you look at them a certain way, it's like if you will look at a scope that a doctor uses, it looks like you're looking at the inside of arteries and heart.
Right.
So to me, it's the black hole is just, it's like different. They have as much function as our veins and arteries do. And if they know how to travel, which ones pull towards certain ways, then they can get in those and they can travel having to use a propulsion because it pulls them. And then once they get to where they're going, then then they can have their own stuff to get around with. So it's mostly magnetism and gravity and whatever that energy is that's flowing, they know how to use them. And that's why some of them are shaped like Tic Tacs, because they don't have a corner. They just look
Yes.
like a pill. But if they get in one of those black holes, it goes, whoop, it
Yes.
just slides
No
through like a
friction.
water slide.
No
So,
friction.
and I always thought,
Well, let
what
me
the
ask
hell
you,
does that look like a Tic Tac? Yes.
because it's an ease of aerodynamics. So, well,
Yeah.
when you talk about the wormholes and the looping and the stuff, I think
Yeah.
that you're the only other person I know that's mentioned this stuff. But when they made that movie Contact, with Jodie Foster. Did you
Mhm.
see that movie?
Yeah.
And she was,
Yes. It was a long time ago.
yeah, I know.
I don't remember it
We
very
don't want to
well.
go into that.
Yeah.
Hey, my birthday is this week. I'm going to be older. So, yeah, yeah,
Happy birthday.
there's that. Thank you.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
because when she was in the tower and in the craft, and,
yeah,
what the people saw was that craft being dropped out of the rigging, right? And what she experienced was forever going through wormholes and getting yanked back and getting yanked back and boom, boom. And so, and she wound up on a beach and her dad showed up, right? Because that was a form that she wouldn't freak out over.
yeah.
So, you know, it sounds like somebody tried to come through the same mechanism that you had, right? That you were describing,
Yeah.
and they put it into
Yeah.
a film. Do you
Probably.
think
I
that's
mean, I don't know. I watched the movie a long time ago, but when I did the transition thing, which when I died and came back, you go
right?
through a tunnel, which the tunnel is a dendrite. It's really like a tentacle around a huge neuron, and there are just when you die and you look out all these lights, it's just huge, gigantic neurons because you're turned into energy. And when I got to get up to the top of the tunnel or the dendrite to get to go towards the nucleus of the neuron, you could just see, tunnels connecting each other. And um, it's just gigantic, but also, as this energy, I mean, it looks gigantic when you're turned into an energy, when you're a spirit. So it may be you're seeing on a cellular level or whatever, but so it may be big to you, but it's really not that big, but it was gigantic. And
Right.
so when I started putting things together from the psychic worm stitch, which I'm working on, um, it's like everything that is here is based on how all of that functions. The internet functions like the consciousness does. You put in your information and zoop, you hit an icon and it brings up the information magnetically almost. The body of the universe, I mean, the consciousness is the brain. The earth, is an organ of some sort, whether it's not what it is, I haven't really looked at yet. Every planet is some sort of organ, whether it's living or dead. And even when a planet dies, it makes a black hole, and that energy goes somewhere searching for food. And that's why you've got a black hole. Well, that black hole makes ventricles and veins. And then when you have your creation kind of thing, then that's how things can, everything is made to function like a big body. And the internet is kind of like the brain for us, but the consciousness is the brain. And it's just when you look at everything, it gets kind of freaky because it's like, we can only see so much. We can't pull back and look at what our universe really looks like, honestly, except we see gases and stuff like that. But if you look at neurons and everything under microscopes, it looks like that. It looks like those nebulas. It looks like, and the nebulas, the reason we have colors in our chakras is because when the black holes were going looking for energy, they picked up whatever gases they picked up. And in that information, those chemicals are in our bodies and whatever's around. And then that makes, we have, if we only acknowledge 7 chakras, those chakras come from nebulas. That's the remnants of old nebulas, old gases. So that's one reason we have a connection to all these other places. And it, so I mean, if you energetically, if you can see this stuff, you see, it's basically like, when people see the halos, that's the soul, because the soul is like a big eye of a needle with these little dendrites, and it spreads out here. The spirit gets plugged in here when you're born, but the soul spreads out here and has dendrite little tentacles sending out. And that's how you get your guides and guardians. They come through a tether that comes from the consciousness, comes up into that those tentacles, and that's how you get your guides communicating with you. And then when you die, that cord, it goes out, the soul goes out last to make sure the lights are turned off, and everything's taken away, and then it downloads into the consciousness. But when you're dying, it's all doing. So when I was in my 20s, I got to experience, I really, with aliens and all that stuff, I was still on the border a little bit about it, until I encountered a few things that I went, whoa, that they were energies, they were spirits, but they were not us,
Right.
and some of them were definitely from other places in the consciousness. Because the consciousness, to me, what it seems like is it's so huge that there's an ancient end of it, and and then it works down to closer to what we're developed in. So it's like the consciousness as a brain, it has a cerebellum. So in the older cerebellum, like in our brains, that's where all the old stuff is. So they're in the older part of the brain. And, the Anunnaki, people have grabbed onto that. Well, those people, I think, are gone. I think they were on the way out. We really, from what I understand of my concept of it, or whatever I understand it, of the Anunnaki that came and gave, the Sumerians their information and all that. Those people who came here, their planet was dying. They came here for materials. They're people that they had turned into slaves, rebelled because they were from a cool place, and they went right into Africa, digging in the mines, having to work in the mines, and they rebelled because it was too hot and too hard. And so the Anunnaki said, we have to do something. And they turned to their female scientist, Tiamat, and said, do something. And she did. And so that's where like a DNA library came about. They were controlling it, lab controlling it. It was controlled for a little while. And they created the Adapas, and then we, went from there. So to me, I go, it makes sense to me, we are echoes of the Anunnakis and their peoples. But those people, I think those people are gone. I don't think they survived this long. But there are people who are off of them, and there's other people. There are other people out there. And, but this is such a mineral rich, apparently very convenient place to go to, like an oasis. It's like you head here before you go somewhere else, so you can go here, get your supplies, and then go on to the next thing. And so we're all kind of echoes of the ancient people. whether it's through the lab, the people created through the lab experience, or through the Nephilim, which is those people going, what the hell? And they started mixing with everybody.
Yeah.
The scientist Tiamat, they betrayed her, killed her husband. So she was the one who created the workers. So she created an army of freaks, really,
Yeah.
to combat them. And she almost won. And then they killed her. And then later on, the people, the people and the things that were created that were half and half and all that stuff, they died out or were killed out. And there's a lot of different little legends, I mean, I've heard a rumor of they found a tomb in Egypt where they had like 3,000 hands, big hands, that were bounties for killing the big people, the Anunnaki or Nephilim that were around. And even in the Bible, you had when they were going to come out of the desert, and they said, you got to go, that's the promised land, but you got to go in there and kill the giants first. Those giants were the last of whatever there was. So they've even included that into their stories. And you have Goliath, so those people, there's some, whatever the story of aliens or travelers, I like to call them travelers,
Travelers. I like that
they're
too.
alien to us. Yeah, because they're alien to us, but they just came from somewhere else. We are planning on doing the same thing. We're going to go somewhere else and do the same thing and act like God and mess with everybody. And then, unfortunately, men, whether they're from Anunnakis or from Michigan, they can't seem to get their zipper up. So we'll go and we'll run whatever we do, and we'll mix. And for the better, but one friend of mine, when I told her about all this stuff, she said that, she would get on talk shows and go, it's blasphemy. They mixed with people. And I'm like, well, if they didn't, you might still be in the woods scratching your butt, hanging from a tree. We may not, we would still be living in the caves, so, there was a good side and a bad side.
Well, there's a yin and a yang to everything.
Yeah, everything, and everything's a lesson. And right now, we have the capability of blowing this planet up more than 30 times over. And so those people that are watching us, they're not watching us in particular. They're watching keeping balance. It's like the pool people. They're coming and checking the pH balance, the radiation balance, because since Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I mean, I think that's hello, we went away.
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello.
I see you. I am. Yes.
I think she's there. Okay. I think it was Nagasaki. What was it? It was Hiroshima. I can't think. I'm old. But the places where they nuked, which that changed the radiation levels for ever. I mean, now they go, before, they can test the radiation up to 1945. That's when we began radiation, that we know it. And so it's in everything. It's in everything that's made. We have radiation levels because of what was done in the 40s. And so they know the effect of nuclear. And actually, I think there's ancient nuclear explosions that there's evidence of. In Egypt, I mean, there's a temple that's scorched.
Yes.
And I think that's probably, the thing of the old tale of, what was it, Lot, that his wife turned to salt.
Yes.
It may not
Well,
have been salt. Maybe she turned into um, a radiation ash. Uh, so they know what this is. They know what it is. They know how it does. They know what it poisons. Um, so they come and they make sure we're not screwing it up, because we'll screw it up for us, but there's a universal crew who wants it not to be destroyed out of sync, and just because of men's egos. And that's what we're having to watch. And so when they come, they're it's like we don't have to worry. They're not going to come and eat us, even though I would be okay with that at this point. It's like, I'm fat enough to be eaten. But
you're so not even close.
they oh I am, believe me. I'm ready. But they're not interested in that. The reason they come and deal with people is they look at our consciousness development. They look at our radiation levels and see if we're being poisoned more than normal, which after what was in 2011 when the tsunami hit Japan, all that
Yes.
radiation went in the
And it's still
ocean.
pumping because they can't stop it.
Oh, no. And even after the Second World War, people were living in nuclear waste, basically
Yes.
radiation. And we've had Chernobyl, so they come and they check us. And they have things that device. The reason, I hate to say it, but I used to go, yeah, anal probes. But I really think that's like, if you go to take your animal to the vet, that's what, they give them a rectal check. You go to your doctor, you get a rectal check. And they have devices that check what happens too. They check the development of people, and by checking the chakras and the development and the evolution of people, they can see how far we are. Say, like if it's a 1 to 10, if we're a 5, a 6, I would say we're probably about a 4 or 5 in development. And they want to know, if we get to a certain elevation, then I think they would just start up communication, because then we could talk to them and it wouldn't be, it would be on something, because a lot of it is telepathic. The energies that I've encountered that were what I would consider, traveler energy, beautiful. One of them was beautiful, frighteningly beautiful, scary looking. But they were beautiful to look at. But they had, their skin was a little bluish, because that to me means, wherever they're from, the oxygen is not so much, so the blood stays blue until it oxygenates. So it doesn't turn red until it hits the
Yes.
oxygen.
When
I
it gets
think,
leaked
if
out.
that's,
Yeah.
I think that's the way it works. But they were beautiful, and scary as hell, because they were so intense, but they were protecting. They were kind of like protectors. When people talk about watchers, there's all sorts of different kinds of watchers that watch what we
Yes.
do. And actually, there are some energies I've encountered. They don't talk. They don't communicate whatsoever. All they do is watch and take back information. And
Well, I
they
have a
don't have
question
a
about that.
language. Yeah.
Well, I
Yes.
think I've talked to you about this before. But there are times that I do see eyes, like if I'm laying out or if I'm just taking a nap, especially outside, and I will see just eyes against my eyelids, if that makes sense. Like there's
Uh-huh.
watchers.
Yeah.
And So I'm never aware
Well,
of a physical
yeah,
form there.
yeah.
But it's like, get out of my head. I mean, but it's very odd to me. And I don't know if it's you that
Well,
I've
that
lost,
kind of thing is
but probably both.
your microphone cut out, so I couldn't tell what you said. Repeat
Well,
your question.
I just said that I don't know if you are who I've had that conversation with. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it before, but and now I just lost
We've
everything.
talked about it before.
Yeah, but it's very odd because there's different sets of
Like
eyes.
two energy gets weird.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, I mean, the initial thing, the third eye, the pineal gland, if you cut it in half, it's the Egyptian eye of Horus and eye of Ra right there. And
it's just fascinating.
yeah, it can be multiple things. It can be just your third eye looking out. Because if you couldn't see, if you knew how to, there are, I mean, actually, people who cannot see that kind of get around. It's almost like radar or sonar. It's
Okay.
because our third eye kind of controls our aura and our electromagnetic field. So if you were blind, you could still get around
Oh, sure.
with
Yeah, I know people
your
who do.
magnetic field, reading what's around you. And so it could be you're just perceiving the third eye. It could be, and if there's something looking at you, believe me, if people could
Yeah.
always see what's really around us all the time, you'd have to wear a diaper. For sure, because this air is not,
Without a
it's
doubt.
like being in a fish tank. There's all this fluid that we don't see, and everything, and that fluid is full. So it's good we don't see all that, because it's not productive to what we're here to do.
Right.
And when I do my worm stitch book, I've got little videos I'm making of to show animation of what, because people would really be amazed what the soul looks like once it's past. The only reason a spirit looks like us is around our environment, around people. When the soul which has a little tether and axon terminal, goes back into the consciousness, it goes back to being basically a neuron. And our souls at certain levels lose this. This is who you are as the spirit developing. And it has that
Right.
form. And sometimes you need to have that form. So you'll see ghosts and things like that look like people. But when it goes into the consciousness, it loses this form. It goes into being energy and what it is, which is, we look like neurons. We're individual neurons with a tether. And so we go out. That's why, when you're born into being a person, you go out and you're a little neuron picking up information. When you die, that neuron goes back, downloads, and then the consciousness grows and learns, because every second of your life is recorded.
Is that
And
where the Akashic
so,
records come from?
but see, within, huh?
Is that where the
Repeat that.
Akashic records? Is that where the Akashic
Repeat it.
records come from?
Yeah, well, the Akashic, yeah, because we have our own Akashic records in here in our cerebellum, but it
Right.
connects to the larger Akashic library. And then in that consciousness, like I said, there's many consciousness in that library, because it's just, oh, huge, gigantic fields and fields of these giant neurons that look like big donuts, light donuts, or translucent donuts with little. And each center has a nucleus, which, whatever that is, it's information. So when you're a spirit and you go back, you can go into those, you can go into the donut part around the neuron and just get information. If you go into the nucleus of the neuron, then that is the consciousness there. So each civilization, each information that's gone, there's a neuron that is that information.
Okay.
Every spirit, every worshipped being that millions of people put information on, they are a giant neuron. And so when you put energy, your tether sends that information to that neuron. When you need it and you pull it, you have to kind of have it cycling. So when you send information, when you do a prayer works because you're sending this signal to that consciousness. Then it takes that information and then you can pull from it. So there are neurons that are beings, there are neurons that are information, like libraries. There are constructs that are just weird. I mean, I've had to deal with some weird stuff,
Oh,
that
I know
I
there's
can't
weird
tell
out
you. I
there.
can't draw it. I can't tell you what it was. There's some weird out there, but there, we ain't seen nothing yet, baby. But it's amazing. But it's all in a electromagnetic plasma. Some of it is the thing with plasma. Some of it is invisible. Some of it is viewable. Um, I have actually seen ectoplasmic material that it's like a gray material, and it's like a gray jelly with little
Mhm.
scratches in it, kind of like a marmalade.
Yeah.
And but that's just, everything's made like these tunnels I've talked about, or
Mhm.
the ventricles, or the consciousness. It's all made out of a living plasma. So we're made out of a living plasma. I've even been able to pull my outer energy. If you know how to do it, it sounds weird. But if you want to see what your body, because of the material that the spirit is made out of, as you're developing, you create a form. You have several layers of, basically they used to call them corpses, but really
Mhm.
a shell that's made out of cytoplasm and all that stuff, protoplasm,
Right.
all this, the I'm trying to think, my brain goes blank every so often. The photosynthesis, that plants do, we have that. We have that green algae in our genes. We have that in our genes, and that's why plasm will be kind of a greenish tint. It's kind of like a phosphorescent tint. I can't think of the word right now. But
So that would be like
so
plankton.
if you get to see what your yeah, kind of like plankton. It
Okay.
absorbs like plant. It takes the soul, the shape that your spirit takes, that layer, because we have multi layers. Because in your aura, you have like 7 layers of auras. So you have, it's not just a light around you; it's a shape of you. So
Yeah.
each layer encompasses you, and your soul that is being created, which is ectoplasmic material. Um, then it gets this really strange dark green color, and it's covered.
Okay.
The ectoplasm looks like, if you've ever peeled an orange, you see that little fiber in there.
Mhm.
It's like you're made out of that kind of fiber. And so while you're living, that's being created in that energy, that plasma, and that we need light, and that feeds the body. You get your vitamin D, you get all your whatever. The spirit learns how to feed itself off of the body functioning and doing it normally. So when you die and you go, that plasma self has the soul and the spirit are in it and pull, and then the ectoplasm that has made your spirit and soul, that gets absorbed as you go up the dendrite to go into the conscious. So it downloads information with that as well. So when you as a spirit have to come back, someone calls you and you come back through the dendrite, it will automatically, almost magnetically, pick that information of who you were. And then when you go back, it just gets reabsorbed into the tendrils, because it's a big organism with lots of tendrils and tunnels and lights. But it looks like a brain without a shape, but I'm sure from a bigger distance, you could see that it probably is because we're an imitation or a reflection of how it's all working. When they say, there's different things to describe what people think a God is, or God, energy or consciousness. We're supposed to be made in their image. Well, we might be, but we have a lot of, I think that kind of as much, about when we come into this life, we're given a preset information in the spirit and soul. And then the spirit is like the little seed that's put into the third eye. And that's a pre-recorded who you are, what your trip is supposed to be, what you're doing, if you're developing. And then if you're given basically, you come in with what you're supposed to do in that spirit information. And then after it's over, they go, when it downloads, they say, what did you learn? And you see if you met your goals. If you didn't meet your goals, you can come back and try it again. And but there are alien type energies I've seen.
I have a question.
What now?
I have a question about that part.
What now? Sure.
Okay. Now, to me, it's fascinating, and I totally get this. But April says this reminds her of the Doctor Who episode with the library. So I think that's pretty cool too.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched Doctor Who.
I haven't either. I think I've seen one episode.
No, this is stuff I've come about on my own, Yeah. So
I mean, but it matches the creators of that show. So obviously somebody else is interested in the same stuff you are. I think a lot of people are. But
it's the consciousness. Everybody has.
It is. Everybody's
It's like a library. So everyone has a connection to it. So any information I'm getting like that, I'm getting from, my experience of dealing with the Akashic library. And it's not like other people can't go and look through it and see. You just have to work at it. And of course, there's sci-fi things that are evolved off of things that are in the consciousness. I'm not as big on sci-fi for whatever reason, because I think what I do is so weird anyway.
Well, it is. And
but
I mean,
it
she
all
just
has
means that. I think that she just means that the way that the description. Am I going in and out?
Well, it's, and I understand.
But
Yes.
when we have our time to cross.
Well, and two, there you have to look at everything that's around, and you take information from the consciousness.
Right.
I couldn't hear that question.
I didn't ask one.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought
Yes.
it looked like you did. It kind of froze. The things like there are things I pick up from the consciousness. There are other things that you look around and you go, well, that makes sense. Well, I'm trying to think of what was Stephen Hawking's. I think he's the one who was talking about it, or in the Big Bang, lots of little, millions of little wormholes.
Wormholes. Yeah.
Now that's, but that explains to me how that it creates the veins and ventricles.
Well,
because I've seen so many weird things. Oh well, that's the Akashic Library.
yeah.
And really, it's like being digital. I mean, we're at the level where the internet really is like a mechanical digital functioning of the consciousness. This is how it works. When I do ghost hunting, let's say this, I do ghost hunting through Zoom and do remote. Their voodoo doll is ready. I do remote, and the more that I'm disabled, so I've had multiple things happen that increase my psychic abilities, and there was one that I
Uh-oh. I think that Mark has disappeared. So we're going to try to get him back. I know he's going to be trying to get back here. And I think that because I know that he was having trouble hearing me, and Carl never gave me an indicator that he was having trouble hearing me. He did not. Okay. So we're just going to go ahead, and there he comes right now, because I'm telling you, I love Mark Fults' information, and there he is. So can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Well, yeah, this is probably getting the stuff that the energies. I can hear you on and off here.
Okay.
And the thing with energy, when you get into subjects, sometimes we'll mess with the electronics,
Well, we've
but
seen that happen with spirits and with
because of
just
the
consciousness
caution,
discussion.
oh yeah, but the consciousness that I use, the Akashic Library I go into, last year, someone approached me about looking for a lost cemetery. I drew a map that a female spirit led me to. Her name was Mary. And I drew a map. And then when they had hired a guy to come and do sonic sonar, looking for graves. And he said, is there anything you want to tell me before I start? And I said, well, the psychic has this map. And within 2 seconds, he found the map, the graves. And then out of that came 250 graves. Then the next few weeks, he went to a cemetery looking for a unmarked cemetery, a grave of this woman that specifically he knew where she was, but he didn't know where her grave was. And I said, well, doing remote, which is just using the Akashic Library, using the consciousness, using the tools, I was
Yeah.
able to say, I said, well, ask Mary to help you. He closed his eyes. He went, Mary, help me. And when he opened his eyes, he was in front of Mary J. Reese's tombstone, which I'd painted a picture a month ahead of time, and
Yeah.
with the dead tree and everything in it. I think I've showed that to you.
Yeah.
And that
Amazing.
was her grave. They took a picture of it because there's the dead tree, there's the tombstone. Then he's going, well, help me find these other people. So I said, well, turn to the left. You look 3 rows back. You see that space? That's where they are. And he used divining rods and he found them. So how did I do that? I did that because of the way that my stuff works. I work in the Akashic Library. And if you're psychic and you can do it and find an easy way to do it, which I'm going to be showing how to do that at some point very soon. I will have that meditation for people to do
I will
to
sign
go
up for
into your
that.
deep subconscious. You can go to your deep subconscious, but then you can go from your deep subconscious into the consciousness itself. But we have the library information in our bodies. And a lot of the stuff that I get that's just really weird is just from seeing these, when you get to a level of weird stuff where you see tubes of flaming material fluid, with beings of light, right at them, you're like, yeah, it's the level you get to that people take LSD to get to. And a lot of that information, that old stuff, that's what it looks like. It's energy. We don't look like us when we get to the consciousness because we look like nerves on it, and it comes in with you in there. It protects you while you're living, and then when it goes back and takes all that information back. And because the consciousness is a growing brain, and it's accessible, you just have to be able to access it. And I've been very lucky to. The first meditation I was put through when I was 18 was an Akashic Library. Then after I came back from dying, because what happens if you get to where you're downloading but you don't die, then and you come back, then you're a little bit more open and you get more information on a continual basis. So people could look in there. I mean, if you wanted to go in there, you can go and make constructs and ask questions. I've gone in, made a construct that looked like a pyramid, went in, asked questions, and a ball of light with a scroll came out and went shoop, and I downloaded the information. But you've got to know what you're looking for because they'll find you the information. It's like on the internet. You have to type in what you want. So you say, this is what I'm looking for, and it will bring it to you. So it sounds very sci-fi, but actually, on a certain level, we are sci-fi. I
We
mean,
are sci-fi.
metaphysics, people will look at it as woo-woo, but it's metaphysics. It's some kind
Yep.
of information that we can't put under a microscope yet, but we will be able to find a way to test it. And yes, your dreams can get weird. And I've had to deal with some people of late who have learned enough to where they try to manipulate people through the dream state. And that your dreams will get so weird. When you wake up, you go, oh, I know what that is, and you have to, plug that connection. But people will try and connect to you, try to control you through dream state. And that has been an interesting thing. But Edgar Casey, that's all he was doing.
Uh,
He
yes.
was so connected into the Akashic. when I do channeling, that's all it is you're channeling information.
Yeah.
But you have to know how to structure it so you're getting information, but you're not taking on. You're not going to be food for information. You're going to be eaten or get infected. And with him, because he was so incredible and so good, he couldn't stop working, and it killed him because you have to stop and relax. But if you go into there, if you want to look at the other people, the travelers and the consciousness and the angelic looking things, they're there. There's a lot of stuff that I would say looks angelic, but they're not really there for us to deal with. They're balancing energies. They are there balancing, keeping everything in order. And they don't, we need to deal with the spirits that are close to us. When there was a channeler, one time we went, I channel Michael. I'm like, well, when I see a burned out outline on the wall, I will say, you channel Michael. Because there was no need for her to channel Michael.
Yeah.
It has to be intent. But there are some people who are psychic who UFOs towards them. That's because it's telepathic. See, when we die,
Right.
we go back into the consciousness. It's all connected. We came from the consciousness. So we have a telephone to those people, but it's all about what is your intent? What's the reason? Is there a reason for you communicating with them? Are you irritating them when you're trying to take their, or their spirits that there are so many guiding spirits that help us because, it's like levels. You have, the people up here who are like radiation, who they're powerful ancient beings who balance, who watch, who take care of. Then there are, they're the managers. Then there's the office workers. Then there's us, and we have intermediate spirits that we talk to, our guides. They help us so that, we don't have to be trying to interact with energies that have something else to do.
Right.
And what we're here to do is we are little neurons coming out into this world, getting this information, going back. And it's kind of like a football game. When you're born, they fine tune who the best vessel is, what the best that what you're looking for that you didn't get to do in the last life. So you kind of go, okay, all right, I failed at this, so next time I want to try and do this and this and this. So they try to create that precept and say, all right, this you go, here it is, go out, try and catch the ball. You come back, you either learned or you got what you needed to or you didn't. But everything you do is important because it's life and it's information, and the brain grows with it, the consciousness grows with it. So the alienish looking stuff, the weirdest one that I ever experienced came through a shadow person. It was using a shadow person as a delivery system. And I got covered with it. My cousin was over and we were in a very bad house. Let me tell you, bad house, haunted, but it wasn't haunted because of haunting. It had been a freeform witch had opened up a circle, and when she left, she just left that crap going. And but this thing came out, and it looked like a guy. It looked like a silhouette of a man with a hat, black silhouette, and I felt like somebody had given me like a dose of Demerol. I just couldn't move, and it just oozed out from the center of him. And I was between a bed and a dresser because my cousin was in the bed up above me, and she didn't want to be left alone. And I was there, and it just flowed out of the center of it, covered me, and it was like gray marmalade. You could see these little black scratches in this material. And then out of that figure came this thing that looked like a gray balloon with big buggy looking eyes, I guess, bug eyes, and it tried to press into my face. And my aura was good enough to keep it out. It was when I was young, so my aura kept it out, but I couldn't move. I mean, I felt like I had been given some kind of drug. And I think that's what happens when people are abducted. Um, so
Okay.
I said, my cousin's name was Judy. And I said, Judy, something's here. And she woke up and looked over. She couldn't see what was happening, but she could see the blanket moving where it was flowing against the blanket. She screamed and it went zoop and backed off. So, and then after
Wow.
that, I said, no more, you know, but it was an
I
incredible
think I would have been done
experience.
too.
So, but
I
it
would have been
was
done too.
usually, oh, but you know what? You were not, when that gas, that, whatever that is, whether it's a gas or whatever it is, it, you can't move. You're not afraid. And they do that so you will accept it, whatever it is. You know, it's trying to interfect your getting your system. And it was trying to push into my third eye. And when it would
Mhm.
press, I could see the gray in my eyes where it was pressing in. But it had the big, it was a gray bulbous thing with two big black eyes. And I went, well, it was using that as a delivery system. So that was an alien of some sort. That was what they would call, I guess, a gray. Um, but that, and it took me years to realize what was that, you know, until I drew it out.
Yeah.
And so you got a question to ask a question.
Well, I do, because because I know how strong you are, and I know how
Mm.
skilled you are. So that was, how old were you when that happened?
Oh, let me see, probably 28, but now I'm 63, so that seems real young. But I was still
Yeah.
learning. I was still learning. I wasn't prepared for it, but it's good I got exposed to it because it got me over being afraid. Because where I live
Right.
at the time, I moved in there to work so I could get over being afraid. Because that crap was scary. I
Well, I'm
mean, it
sure.
was
I
scary.
mean,
There was, I mean, there was a woman who at night they would call her Gertrude. She would just, you'd see the corner getting dark, and then out of the
yeah,
darkness, this woman would come. She had long black hair, faded out. You couldn't see her face. And she had on a dowdy brown dress, and she would sit there and wait for you to tell her something. She was a fetch, and she had been created for magic work, but the person wasn't there anymore. So she would come, and if you told her to go away, she'd go away. And then she'd come back in a day or two, and she would just stand there waiting for you to say something to her. Now, my aunt who owned the house, if my aunt would talk about selling that place, you'd hear her crying in the walls.
oh,
And they tried selling that place, couldn't do it. The realtors would get locked out of the house when there was nobody in the house to lock it. You know, they had those doors with the sticks you'd put in the sliding door. The doors, the sticks would be put in the door from the inside with nobody in there.
right.
And my aunt, it loved my aunt so much, it didn't want her to go. And when they left about 18 months. When they left about 18 months after they left the house, they let it go back to the bank. And my aunt died of cancer. She didn't get very far, you know. And so it was a very malignant house. But, you
No
know,
doubt.
I mean, and I wanted to be in Ghost Central, and I got over being afraid of stuff because, you know, one time I
Because you were
was there by
having to cope
myself.
with all of it.
Yeah. And I was there. I was by myself. They'd gone to Florida. This was in Chattanooga. And I'd taken a shower, gotten all ready, you know, dressed. And I opened the door. And this was a 2-story house. And I lived upstairs in the attic. And there was something waiting at the door for me. And when I opened the door, it was like, and you could hear it run down the hall run up the steps and run into my bedroom. And I thought, oh no. Because I was there. It was, because we would see these shadow people all night long, just going in and out of the walls, running down the steps. If you watch a show called Haunted Maine, I think,
Okay.
there's a shadow person on there. That's what it looks like. It's just this really like silhouettes, just cut
Yeah.
out imitations of people. And but you would be in there, and I mean, it was very poltergeist type activities and all that stuff. And Sin Trader and I were talking about the doppelganger effect, and that was the only place I'd
Yeah.
really had a doppelganger experience. I take it back. I had another one in college, but my aunt would hear my uncle calling to her, or they'd see him in the house when the house was locked up and nobody was home. And you would hear people in that house talking to you when nobody was there, you
Yeah.
know. And so we were talking doppelgangers, and actually yesterday, Sin Shredder Hill, we work on books and stuff. We're good friends. She got a phone call from me yesterday that I didn't make. And she said she couldn't understand what it was, but it was my little high pitched voice. I do all these old comedy sounding
Yeah.
things. And she said she thought she couldn't understand what I said, so she deleted it. And then later on, she said, "What were you trying to say to me?" And I said, "I didn't say anything. I didn't call you." And it's on her. It's on her call list, and it's not on mine. And I said,
Right.
"No, I didn't call you at 2 in the afternoon." And that was because we were talking the doppelganger thing.
Mhm.
And she said, "It was you. I just couldn't understand what you were saying." And I said, "Well, because we were talking about they can imitate um, the voices and all that, the look.
Yes.
And the reason those things happen is because, since I've been dropped on my head, talk to the dead, I have spirits all around me all the time,
You
but
do.
I have to keep everything in working order to keep everything in working order. So, it's not all constant, because if you don't have your filter up, it's constant. It's something else. Somebody will be wanting to talk to you 48 hours a day, And, but the alien thing, like the thing that's going by, I would tell people this, because I try not to look at the information before I really look at it. I haven't gone searching about it, but I will
Yeah.
say, because from our conversation the other day, don't worry about that. It's not here to give us problems. It's here to make sure. Actually, what it is they're making sure and checking and shutting down things they need to shut down. So it's not a bad thing. It's caretaker kind of stuff. It's
Okay.
not coming to give us little probes and eat us, or saying, I'm going to take that fat little person with a fry and a drink. Uh, they're here for a purpose, because they are basically doing maintenance work, because we are the plug in the septic tank. We are the
Yeah.
roots in the plug, and we're plugging it up. And there's all these people wanting to go war, 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 nuke, nuke, nuke. And I have known so many people lately who've been going to church meetings now, and one person I know very well, their church for about a month, where every night they were going to a meeting, and it's basically end of the world meetings, the rapture and all that stuff,
That was
and
that was the
they
same
kept,
thing back
they,
in the late
they kept,
70s.
yes, we've been through it before. And I'm like, I try to explain to them. I said, there are medieval paintings of people laying around in their cod pieces and lederhosen and it's called the end of the earth,
Yeah.
um
Just
I'm like, one day the end of the earth will come, but if it comes, that's okay, because uh, everything dies, everything lives, everything that has to be born has to die at some time. And it's okay because we go on into the consciousness, and then wherever the new planet gets created or wherever there's one that, we can live at, we'll live in,
Yeah.
because those people out there that we call the travelers, they their consciousness and some of our DNA is in us, and we are
Yeah.
connected to them and they are connected to us. But we are like the redneck cousins, that they're
With the
like,
yeehaw.
they have potential, but they also check and see our chakras, because our chakras as a culture reach a certain level, and they watch that to see, if we're, because it's like the old story of the Bible of the Tower of Babel,
Yes.
because
Very much.
the people up there that were it wasn't gods, it was those people in the ships, and they were building a tower to reach the ships. And so they had put chips in those people's um, cerebellums. So when they felt like, we need to stop this crap, they just scrambled the people's brains and with the chip, and then they were able to, speak other languages that came from elsewhere. I have an aunt who was one of those, the Basque from France.
Yeah.
We had a lot of gypsy kind of people in our family from one end, and they had black raven hair, amber eyes, and I don't have it. The RH negative blood is in our family,
Right.
and they come directly from some kind of, you know interaction. I think they're a little bit of a leftover, because see, when the Anunnaki were here, when they had gotten what they needed and the poles were shifting, they left. The majority of them just got in their ships and left. The ones that stayed to help us, or that were here, that had bred and had spread and become their own creatures, their own people,
Mhm.
those died out, were killed. And there were some here that, after the flood, the which there's a guy that talks about the Eye of Sahara being the oh, Atlantis, which I believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense because it's down the street from the Nile, and when it
Yeah.
flooded out, the leftovers from the those Anunnakis and people, because there were more than Anunnakis, but that's just who we know. But they went from the Eye of the Sahara, went from the Nile, moved down. They've been trading with the Egyptians, and they took the last remaining of their technology, and that's where the Egyptians became so evolved.
Yes.
And then after those people died, then those, because the Egyptians lost the technology, because people would die out and they wouldn't know how to do it anymore. So that's why it was so technologically advanced. And the pyramid was water based. I mean, that went from a desert to, I mean, from a lush forest like environment to a desert within 100 years. So that's like a
Well,
flash.
and yeah, and
And so
the amazing thing is that um, a friend of mine has written books about the Great Pyramid being a water pump, and people are like, "Oh, well, there's no way," because he's talking about using a lock system like we have here,
yeah,
and he's like, "Well, the Nile's original path was coming right around the
yeah,
pyramids. I mean, it wasn't
and
always. I mean, things shift, and it's been a lot of years." But
yeah,
he was the first person that educated me on that. It
yeah,
was so fascinating because you have to, with what we do, we find ourselves in a position sometimes that this is something and what we're talking about tonight is completely new to some people, right? But
yeah.
it's
It should be.
just you right, but you get to a point that things are actually, oh, well,
Yeah,
okay, and I'm going to ponder this, but it sounds reasonable. And sometimes it sounds reasonable and you ponder it and it kind of fades out. But then sometimes it doesn't sound reasonable and you think about it, it's like, oh, well, heck yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I understand that. But
Well, I started doing it when I was young because I was a little Christian.
yeah,
And, in the Bible, it's just full of metaphysical things, supernatural things.
it
But
is.
I thought, really, if you replace angels with the word alien, now we'd say traveler, it makes sense. People who are unseen forces who could artificially inseminate a woman to have a fatherless creation that was of supernatural origin. Well, really, it's like just they gave her, they artificially inseminated her by an alien, lab, like they did everything else. And there are things in the Bible that sound very wonky woo, and then I go, well, throw in alien, I think it works. But yeah, but if you look at the Sphinx, there was waterware on the Sphinx.
Yes,
I mean, it was whittled down by flowing water. It's a
strongly flowing
desert
water.
now, but it wasn't a desert back then.
Nope.
And there are
Well,
so
the
many.
gardens of Babylon, the
Yeah,
gardens of Babylon were
yeah,
tremendous, and you don't have those without irrigation.
yeah. Well, and
And
the Alexandria is underwater.
yes,
It used to be above ground. That's what happens. The earth tilts, the water sloshes around, and the places that are land and mountains and grass, eventually those become underwater. The places that are sandy and beachy and deserty, at some point they'll get water and they'll turn into, or they'll be under oceans. It's
yeah,
the in Chattanooga, the the mountains there used to be at the bottom of an ocean because there are all these
yeah,
little shellfish
like mussels and
and things
stuff.
that live
Yeah,
in, and it's a country mountain place, the Appalachians. At one point,
it
it
is
was all
good.
water, so
Yeah,
every so often the snowball goes over and everything shifts, and what's at the bottom of the ocean is going to be on at above ground, and vice versa. And that's just life. It's
yes,
yes, there are things like climate change and things like that. Of course there's climate change. Ask the dinosaurs. you know I mean, ask the fossils, that were under an ocean, and now it's sitting in a grassy field in Chattanooga.
yeah,
We have climate change.
yeah,
It's never going to stop. Of course, we accelerate it, but the Earth is a self-regulatory system, and it will flush the toilet when it needs to,
Atlas
and
shrugged.
when it does, if we just happen to be in the way of it, it's not taking us into consideration. We are like organisms living on an organism. We're living on a
Yeah,
living being. It creates its own air, its own water, its own atmosphere. It has a heart at the center, which is lava.
yeah,
It if it gets heartburn, we get earthquakes,
and volcanic eruptions. Yeah,
and volcanic eruptions. It evolved the dinosaurs and everything into oil to keep the heat away, to basically do like your car engine. Because if you let the oil run out in your car, your engine cracks. So
yeah,
what do? The oil that is in the earth is protects the crust from the magma. What do? We pull it out and make an imbalance, and then the engine cracks.
yeah,
So, oil at some point will cease to be something we can deal with, because not in the sense of like we need to stop, because it's a continual thing. But see, the earth makes it. It's why you have to have the dark element, which turns everything into dirt, into food, into oil. And, once it reaches a certain point and gets toward the hot magma, it turns into a fluid and
Mhm.
it protects the earth. But the earth is an embryo, and it's a living, thinking being, and the atmosphere around us is basically its consciousness, and it's connected to the consciousness that we are connected to. And
Yeah.
that's why the earth seems to have an be able to think and be able to create or be able to evolve. And it's evolving because of life. We evolve because we live and we function, and things evolve as we go. So but I think of the earth as like a living embryo. And when a planet dies, that energy begins to swirl and it goes find somewhere else and it makes another. It takes that energy, it reincarnates. We can say a
Yes.
black hole is the reincarnation vehicle for a planet. And whatever energy it goes through, whatever nebulous it goes through, it picks up, it already has consciousness. So it picks up consciousness from everything it goes through. And then when the beings get it, every being has that energy in them
Well,
because it comes through the embryo of the earth.
well, I
Hopefully, I'm not boring
actually,
anybody.
no, you're not boring. This is my color Kool-Aid, and I know that they're listening and enjoying it too. But I have to ask you a question because it's from earlier
Yeah.
in the show, and I
Oh, okay.
promised I would ask it. And
Sure.
it's one of April's, so I absolutely have got to get to this question. But
Okay.
I have just lost it. Hang on.
How does
When
that
you were
play
talking
into
about
astrology?
astrology, yes.
Okay.
When you were talking about the planets and
Oh,
the
yeah.
flow and
How does
the
it play? Yeah. Yeah. Um, the really ancient consciousness, the really old stuff. I mean, they're so complex. And see, I would fail an IQ test with these people because they're so mathematical. And math is something that I don't have, and things like that. No, I have friends who are into horoscopes and astrology that they do a tremendous job. And I do a good job talking to the consciousness, having a flow, connecting into
right.
the Akasha. The astrology part, I'm not as, it's not one of my fortes, but it's in there because everything in astrology, I mean, there's a lot with astrology that the ancients, that's how they lived their life. So that's
It
in
is.
there.
Yeah.
And if you're into that, you can access that and find out that information. When, but of course, each planet has its own information, its own identity. The people from elsewhere, each planet has its own name, its own spirituality, um, its own, whether it's a feminine or masculine or whatever. So they have a way, each thing had, I mean, in the ancient world, they have all of that down. Astrology goes over my head. Um, I remember one of my favorite people, Elliot, Cass Elliott. She was on a show and she goes, I just can't believe, a ball of gas and rock, has something to do with me, but it does.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it all, like, we have minerals in us. We have about 2,800 different types of 2,800, I think, types of minerals in our bodies. That includes minerals from the earth, but also minerals that have come from elsewhere.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, we've got the meteors, we've got in the creation, the explosions. We had other energies and rocks and things that have mixed. So we turn back into dirt when we die, but we have a lot of that rock material in us. We have a lot of
Mine's
quartz. We
mostly
have a
in
lot
my
of,
head.
yeah, mine is,
I'm teasing.
and the magnetite. We have all that iron. We have so much iron and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but we have the planets within our makeup, and we have that stardust, star dirt. We're star children, but we have star dirt. And
Yes.
so, let's say whatever the planet was that died, that we have a chunk of in our bodies as a whole, then we have that. Everything has a consciousness. Whatever you eat, you develop. You're eating some of that consciousness. If somebody, the ancient people would eat the dead to get their thoughts and energy into them, because the consciousness does that. When you die, it
Right.
downloads and you get all the information you recorded, because you're a brain, you're a computer. Your brain is a computer.
Right.
And so they would eat the person to get the person in them. All of the stuff that we have in us, we not only have the DNA and thoughts and remembrances of the people who put into our DNA pool before they put into, I mean, anything that had happened to them before they bred,
Hmm.
you've got their memories up until that point. The little curves in your brain are scientifically where the thoughts, the DNA thoughts are, from your great great grandmother. Well, you up until the
Right.
point they put their genes in, you have an element of her, not only the skin color, hair color, but thoughts, memories, because it's all recorded. And so, whatever we've absorbed, whatever we're created from, we have that in us. So, say, like, if it came from a piece that had broken off Jupiter, you know, well,
Okay.
we have a little bit of the Jupiter consciousness in us. Whatever hit, like when the meteor hit and killed the dinosaurs, which my favorite, I'll come back to that. I have a favorite story. Um, that covered the earth in dust. Well, that dust is in us. It's in whatever we're made out of.
Right.
The radiation that happened, we have the radiation that happened in Japan. They've done nuclear testing, we have the radiation from that. We have the um, we've absorbed the minerals. So when you absorb something, we don't realize when we're eating meat, we're absorbing the things that animal and being lived through and thought and felt, and we're getting that and we're eating that. Sometimes stress, sometimes whatever, or if they had a happy
Right.
life, sometimes we get that. It's like getting meat memory. We're absorbing their information. So if we have the stardust in us, which we do, then we have a little bit of that information of whatever the meteors were, wherever the
Right.
um, black hole came through, whatever it went through, whether it destroyed or absorbed, because it absorbs planets and stuff. On some of
Yes.
them, all they do is you get to the event horizon, it sucks in stuff. But then there are some that they don't suck in stuff. They're good. They transmit energy, frequency, information, or they can be used for travel. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily pull it in. But if something goes in, if you know where one goes in and then where it comes out, you can hop at, and it's like getting on the subway. But when
Yes.
I said the meteor about hitting the Earth,
He let go. He slid right off. We'll give him a second to see if he comes back, because you know what? I hope y'all are enjoying him as much as I am, because Mark Elliott Fults is one of my friends. He's one of the most interesting people I know. He's Southern, and there he is. So he's a lot like me in a lot of ways. You should be really insulted. I just told people that you're a lot like me in a lot of ways.
oh, that's
So,
fine. I'm going.
yeah,
Yeah.
We're both Southern, right?
But I am
So,
very Southern. I'll give you some sweet tea when I give you a dill pickle to eat.
are you going to fry that dill pickle?
No, it's not. But if I give somebody sweet tea and a dill pickle, they're not going. They're getting it as a punishment. No, but but anyway, but I don't even. But I was gonna say when we left, one of my favorite stories. I know I've told you this one before, but this person said when the meteor hit the earth and killed the dinosaurs, it was really the devil, Satan being thrown out of heaven. And I went, I love it.
Why not?
And
That
but
makes
they
more
were real
sense than
serious.
anything else.
And they said that was when Satan was thrown, Lucifer was thrown out of heaven, so he hit the earth and it killed the dinosaurs and made it way for people. I went, okay, I like that.
I like that. Well, I get so tickled because, yeah, all these mesas and everything, people are like, oh, well, yeah, that's where, yeah, the angels came down and, yeah, they were tossing them out and they were knocking down trees and that's
Yeah.
where the, yeah, all these big lakes and rivers and stuff from where they were being, yeah, the,
Well, yeah,
the bad
and
guys
there's
were getting tossed.
well, a lot of people look at the angels as the bad things, but that's a demonized thing in a way because they just got tired of being slaves, and they rebelled and they got demonized. But there's different layers of what people think the Christian devil is, and then what really, there's some really weird, dark things here that, I mean, we've talked about, what I had to experience not too long ago.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not going to discuss that right here. But, I mean, there's on the way to Chattanooga, there's a little sign that I cackle every time I
Yes.
see it, which is, go to church or the devil will get you. And I laugh
Yep.
my tail off. But then when I had to go to
Not stable in more than one way, my friend. So the sign that he is talking about is when you're on 65 North coming from the Gulf Coast, coming up toward Birmingham. It's after you get through Montgomery. And it's private land, and these people have a big sign, and it's yellow, and it's got a devil drawn on it. And the sign says, go to church or the devil will get you. And I'm going to tell you, I was taking Brentley and Braxton with me to the beach one time, and Brentley had started reading, and he saw that sign, and he was like, "Oh my God! Oh my gosh!" And I was like, "You're okay. You're okay. I hear you. I do not hear you well, but because your image is still frozen, so and I can't. I hear you chuckling, but I can't make out your words. So I'm going to call this, and I will call you later. But I just have to tell everyone I love. He is so my other side. He really is. I just think that you're so awesome. Thank you for being here tonight. And now he's gone. But he is a mess. He is an absolute mess. He is a dear friend. He is somebody that I've investigated with a couple of times. He helped me with clearing a really bad spirit. It's the first time I'd ever seen anyone channel, and he was amazing. He's got books out. You can find them on Amazon. And be sure, because he's got a new book. There he is, which is I'm telling people about my mean old grandma's cookbook.
Oh my Lord. I've had some of
So I was trying to tell people all your information so that they could find you. And he does readings. He can help you if you have a spirit issue in your home, from his home. he is a brilliant person at getting around. And what do you want to share?
Well, the book, Mommy No Grandma's Cookbook on Kindle on Amazon. I checked
Yeah.
yesterday, and they have like, okay, KDP or Amazon has 1,300,000 cookbooks.
Yeah.
And right now on Kindle, which on Kindle, it's about 1,000-page book. It's huge. It's 876 out of
Whoa.
over 1,000,000 books. So somebody's reading that
Good
book.
job, you. Yeah, they are.
Well, and
I'm
Sin,
not.
me and Sin both, we worked hard on that sucker.
Yeah, you
And I'm
did.
doing a cook show out of it, so it's going to be fun. Because this kind of stuff, the psychic stuff, is very, I love it to death. But, every so
Yeah.
often you got to laugh. And so I'm going to make myself laugh, and that'll be a good thing. I can do all my
Yes, it
spooky
will.
stuff and cook. And then I'm still doing my ghost hunting stuff, and finding bodies in graves. And, oh, there's one story, if we have time.
Has to be fast. Has to be fast.
Okay. Now, there was a place called the Ross House in Ohio, and I got called in to do that. But I saw this little blonde-haired Civil War ghost, and she showed me a ring. And so I said, well, ask the host, the owner, about a ring. And she said, no, I don't know anything about it. And so then she started texting him the next morning because she found this dirt encrusted ring in her bedroom, and it was from the spirit. And I went,
I
and
love
can you believe
that.
the person who filmed that is going to use it as evidence? And they're not going to use it as evidence, so I've got it. I'm going to use it as evidence. It's
would.
great. It was funny, but it
Heck
freaked her
yeah.
out. Oh,
I
honey,
can see that.
I'll show it to you. I'll send you. We'll have to do
Okay,
it.
send it to me.
I'll show you what it was. It was amazing because we have the picture of it. And it
Well,
was a
I
hoot.
can't wait.
But
Well, I will be looking for it. But so you've
Well,
got
thank-
the
Go
psychic
ahead.
worm stitch coming out
yeah,
at some point
I've got
soon.
a adult coloring book coming out of all my Art Nouveau stuff. I've got the psychic worm stitch. We're going to do a book of Christmas ghost stories, Sin and I. And so we got a lot going.
Yeah.
And she's doing one called Headless Ghost. And it's about ready. I think it'll be ready in a few months. So we've got about
Cool.
4 or 5 books really to turn out next year. So, and then I'm doing
Oh.
the cooking show.
Well, I'm looking forward to all of that.
So
So,
that's it.
and I know
Oh,
other
I am
people are
too.
too.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you go. And if anybody heard banging and stuff at the beginning of the show, there was a police incident across the street. So we're all fine. But that's why David was coming in here. And, because he was like, you need to pay attention.
Okay.
So I was like, yes, sir. But all's well. Everything's done. So I'm getting out of town tomorrow.
Well, thank you all
anyway,
very much. Yeah.
thank you very much for being here. I just love when we get to talk. And Carl, thank you. And
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank y'all very much. See y'all later. Bye.
Okay. And good night, everybody. We'll see you next week. Same cat time, same cat channel. Good night.